Hey everybody, it's Lisa, the owner of Vintage Gypsy. I'm also the admin of the Silhouettes Cameo School for Newbies. We have a lot of influx of newbies right now, and I wanted to make a quick video on how to adjust your cut settings when the auto blade sucks, which it does a lot, and you cannot seem to cut correctly. So this is typically what I do. So whatever design I have, it doesn't matter if I have a quote, if I have something I pulled from the Silhouette store. None of that matters to me what it is. I do the same thing each and every time. So let me go ahead and put this on here. So if you are a newbie and you have words, the first thing you need to do is if it's a script font, you need to weld it. So a couple ways you can do that. You can select it, right click and weld from here, or if you select it, you can use this quick access toolbar, which is my favorite, and you can weld it from there. But then you need to make sure you group it because you can see the lines that it's not all one piece again. So you can actually use the quick access toolbar again and group your selected. Okay, so I'm visual, so I'm going to change this to, let's say, pretty pink. I usually make my designs on my screen how I plan them out, whether it's going to be a t-shirt or a wood sign or whatever. I make my design in this software match what I'm going to do as a finished product. So I want to cut out this word design. I'm going to click on the Send tab. So there's 4 tabs up at the top. They don't look like tabs, but they are. And typically it dumps you into the simple. And when you look at my screen, you can see that the word design has a red outline around it. These are called cut lines. So if you get onto the board and you say, oh my God, it's not cutting, we're going to say, are your cut lines lit up? This is your cut line. It's only going to do half of my design because it's hanging off the page. If there's anything hanging off this mat, it will not cut. Go back to the design page, click on it. Then I'm going to go over here to what I call my transform window, which is, I say it's an airplane because that's what it looks like. Click on the rotate function, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, go back to my Send tab. Now everything is lit up and it will cut. You want to make sure under Tool 1 is where your blade is. Now whether you're using an auto blade or a ratchet blade, doesn't matter, or the premium blade, you can make the auto blade work like a ratchet blade. You don't have to buy an extra one. So first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that it does say that it's cutting. It's going to cut the design. Okay. It says no cut. Watch what happens. The lines go away. So you want to make sure you cut. Okay. Cut edge means it's just going to cut out around the edge, which you can see by looking at it. It's going to cut everything in my design the same as it would cut. The only difference between these two is going to be if you actually have a design in here. It may only cut just the outer edge of it. Okay, so if I'm going to be cutting vinyl, I tell people to go in here and find the generic vinyl setting, which is the default that comes with the software. So I'm going to say we're going to pick, matte, because I use matte a lot. The first thing I do is I change this auto blade. When I tell you to change it to ratchet blade, you change it here. Then it forces the auto blade to act like a ratchet. But you have to physically pull the auto blade out, switch your blade manually. If you flip your blade upside down, it's the little button that pops up and down. Change it to 3. Okay? Change it to 3. Leave it to 3 for everything that you're ever going to cut, unless it's like glitter HTV or something that's like super thick cardstock. Leave it to 3. Okay? Speed just means how fast it's going to cut the design out. The more detailed the design, the slower you need to make it. This is just one word, so I don't care. I'm going to make it whatever. But what we're doing at this point is we're changing the default settings in the Silhouette software of how matte vinyl actually cuts. My force means just basically how thick that material is that I'm putting in the machine. So if you think about a big thick piece of magnetic vinyl, or magnetic sheets are going to be thicker than regular vinyl. HTV is a little bit thicker because it has a backing on it. Regular vinyl is not as thick. Now what I would do at this point is once you have these set, do not change your force at this point. Leave it alone. Go in and do your test cut. Now when you do a test cut, it's going to cut out a little box over here in the corner with a triangle in the middle of it. If you weed it, and it weeds like butter, meaning that it pulls away from the vinyl that's on your sheet very easily, then you're good. If it does not weed like butter, you need to adjust your cut settings. Here's the trick. If it's cutting too deep, I want you to decrease your force. If it's not cutting deep enough, I want you to increase your force, because that tells the blade how deep to cut, okay? If you're cutting without a mat, you want to have less force because it will cut all the way through your vinyl or your material that's there, okay? Keep doing your test cuts until you can get it to weed like butter. If it does not weed like butter and you're struggling with the weeding, then your cut settings are not set correctly, okay? Go back in and do your test cuts. Now, if that test cut comes out perfectly and wonderful and then you do your design and it does not, then I want you to come back in and take this off, go back to your design page and get out some scrap. The best way to test that is you just need a little one. Mine's going to look bigger on the screen. You don't have to do real big, just maybe about an inch. Is always to use a script font because that is the one that tells the truth. Let's use a different one today. I'm going to use, I've got a couple I like. So, okay, we'll leave it with this one. Like I said, I'm very visual. Okay, so if I zoom in on this, this is how you know you need to weld. See how this extra cut line here is? And it's typically on script fonts. So we're going to either right click to weld, and my favorite is to go to the quick access toolbar. So click it and go up here to weld. See these extra lines around it? If you group it, remember this toolbar up at the top, or you can right click, it'll actually group it back together. Now when you go back in, and you're going to be doing this as a test, if the regular test cut comes out good but your design does not, go back to your send icon, have the same settings are there, and I want you to go and hit send this time instead of test. Keep testing it until you get those where they weed like butter, okay? Meaning there's no parts that are sticking, you're not struggling getting the inner parts out, everything just comes off just like perfectly like it would in a perfect movie, okay? Then at this point you're going to hit send. If it's cutting too deeply, what do? We decrease our force. If it's not cutting deep enough, we increase our force. Okay, so that's going to be my biggest tip for you when you're having issues with cutting. Now, once you have these settings the way you want them, I would not save them at this point, okay? What you're going to do is you're actually going to come into the software and create your own custom setting. And you can see that I have a lot. Add new material, and you can even type in, see how it popped up here? We want to rename it. You can put mine or my vinyl, and then adjust those settings. So we had like an 8, I think, and then a 10 of the force. And you want to make sure that you save that. So once you save it, every time you come back in to cut your vinyl that you cut, go to this setting and it will always remember what you put in there. So I hope that really helps you guys with all the newbies that are coming out, because I got lots of good Christmas presents this year, and trying to figure out the best way to actually adjust your blade settings. If you have any questions, you can always get a hold of me on Facebook. If you haven't joined our Facebook page, you go ahead and join in. We do have a lot of videos. We have a YouTube channel that has a lot of videos on it. And we also do lots of lives and things like that in our group. You guys have an awesome day. I'll talk to you later.